Hello again.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Long time no see. Y'all are gonna get tired of hearing from me. All right. How's everybody doing today?
I'm
Good.
good.
I'm
I'm
good.
good.
Cool, cool. I spoke with somebody with working on SLOS Tech earlier today, and they said that they've gotten lots of applications, and a bunch of you guys have already registered for your tickets to attend SLOS Tech. So that's really exciting to hear that at least some of you guys are gonna engage with that. So thanks for that. Are any of y'all getting involved with the EDPA Fuel Alabama? Corey, I know you're real involved with that, but are any of you guys taking advantage of that opportunity? Fair enough. This program's a lot on its own, so y'all are fine. All right. We are going to be joined by Morgan. She is our customer success manager at QuantHub, but she's a recent college graduate and has been participating in the Venture for America program, so she could share a little more information on that. And then we're just going to talk about resumes today. So many autopilots and AI note takers and stuff. There's Morgan. Hey, Morgan.
Good morning, or I guess like afternoon for you all.
Yeah. Are you in California now?
I am. I just moved to LA 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Is everyone in Alabama here?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll see my at the retreat in a couple of weeks.
Oh, are you coming to Birmingham for that?
Of course I'm coming. The whole
Okay.
company. Probably like minus Alex. I think he's on vacation, but
Yeah, well, that'll be good to see everybody. I loved our December retreat. I don't know, it was just really
yeah.
fun. And I think I just sit at home too much, so it's good to, get out and see other people face to face.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna have like any in-person meetings, or has any happened so far?
So a lot of these, a lot of our scholars will be at SLOS Tech, the big tech festival in Birmingham, so they'll get to see each other then. But then we'll be doing our on-site final presentation event at the end of July. So we'll all be meeting up at the Quant Hub office and presenting on our awesome summer experiences.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah,
It's so nice to meet you all.
yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our slides and then we can just jump right into it.
Perfect. By the way, there's a side note, Kelsey. I really like your background. Is that from our office?
Yeah, this is the Alabama Data Scholars background, although it kind of cuts off the logo, so you can't really tell. But Josh made
And
these. And he was real
they
proud
look
of it.
awesome.
Yeah, I know. Like it just looks so much
Like,
brighter.
can I have one?
Well, there's this one. Yeah, I'll send you the link. I don't think it matters, who uses them, whatever. But there's this one, and then there's another one that looks like you're, I don't know, at a bar or something. I don't know if that's the most appropriate for like
It's the fun version.
noon. Yeah, noon on a Wednesday. But anyway,
We're casual here.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, all right. I guess this, yes, okay. So I guess we could just go ahead and get started. Are you ready to go, Morgan?
I'm ready.
All righty. Cool stuff. I will let's see, turn it over to you in 1 second. So guys, today what we're going to talk about, we're just going to go over some resume, just tips for how to help your resume stand out. And then we're also going to talk about just kind of navigating applicant tracking systems. So this is something you may not be familiar with, but if you are hoping to maybe apply for a future internship or job after this program with a large company, almost all of them now are using applicant tracking systems in the hiring process. And now a lot of AI tools are also playing a role in hiring, everything from creating resumes to formatting all the way through the candidate screening process and recruiting as well. So I just kind of want to cover a lot of this information, and I've got some, helpful resources you guys might want to try out. I know that, again, y'all have just started your internships, and most of you guys are not necessarily thinking about full-time roles just yet, but it's good to, go ahead and start working on your resume. Definitely want all of you guys to leave this summer, feeling really confident about your resume and where you are, and, making sure that you're in a good place to take the next step after this internship. So that's that. If y'all have any questions at any point, just feel free to speak up. We want this to be just a real casual, fun conversation. Y'all just ask away. And then next week, of course, we'll get into more of the technical topics with our SQL workshop. We just want to make sure that there is some professional development built in as well. So, all right. So with all that said, I'm going to turn it over to our very special guest speaker, Morgan Rucker.
Okay, hi again, everyone. I'm Morgan, and I'm basically okay. So I'm going to explain this. I am a Venture for America fellow, and so what that means is basically they take new grads, and then it's like a program that you apply for. Highly recommend. Is everyone on this call like in high school, college? What's the age?
Most everybody's either a junior or senior in high school, or they just recently graduated high school and are about to start college.
Wow, you guys are way ahead of the curve. I wish I had a program like this in high school. This is insane. Like, anyway, amazing experience. But basically, in a few years from now, if you're interested, I would highly recommend you all apply for Venture for America. And it's basically a program that takes recent college grads and matches them up to startups, or more so, it like connects the two. And so basically, it's a platform that has like a lot of different private jobs with various startups. And that's actually how I started working with QuantHub. And it's like a 2-year program. So you work with it's like a normal job, but it's basically a private job platform. And they offer coaching, they offer like just resources, and then it's basically an entrepreneurial fellowship. So if any of you are really interested in starting your own company, highly recommend. And it really sets you up for the experience that you need to be able to run a company. And so I've been working with QuantHub for basically a year now, and it has been such an amazing experience. As you can see, okay, so my official job title is customer success manager, but I also work with support, I work with marketing, and then just various things here and there. And I love like AI and tech. And so I'm trying to get into other departments too, and I help out with our content. And I guess a common term is that I wear many hats, right? So highly, highly recommend working at a startup. Such a great experience, especially when you're out of college. It just throws you into a lot of different things and you can see what you really like to do. But if you want to get further education, it's amazing too before grad programs to really delve into these different fields and see what you like and see what you don't. So I have some example resumes today. Am I able to share my screen, Kelsey? Oh, yeah, perfect. Any questions, by the way, before I get into the resumes? Always open to questions. But anyway, so this is an example resume that I wanted to share from VFA. I thought it was so, so helpful. And it's never too early to start formatting your resume, especially for internships. I mean, I'm assuming that you all already have one. So, so important, especially in the job market right now. It's kind of tough. But I mean, you guys are getting ahead of the curve, so it shouldn't be a problem. So as you can see, I can send this out after our meeting, but basically it's just readability is so, so important. You can see with the formatting, Times New Roman, specific fonts, spacing, very important. Making sure that there's no typos. I mean, it's kind of the things that you probably already know. But this is a huge one that I had to work on with my resume, which I'll show you my college resume that was able to get me my job at Quant Hub and then get me into Venture for America. But basically, quantifying your metrics, so, so important. For example, this summer program right now, if you were able to tie numbers or just anything that can be measured numerically, right, into your experience so far, or just really expanding on what you were able to do. So important. And I think that really helped me stand out compared to other candidates and everything. And then also the additional information section. I mean, some people put like their interests, which can be nice. I've heard some hiring managers say, I don't really care about that. I think it just is a personal preference, but awards, so important. And also skills. Also just skills, especially. This is important too. Depending on the jobs or internships that you're going to be applying for, tailoring your resume per position that you're going to apply for is so, so important, and not making it like a one size fits all, because I think hiring managers can kind of tell that. So for example, you have a SQL workshop next week. Let's say you really want to work with SQL and you know a little bit of it, and the job description or the internship description is mentioning that. You really want to make sure that that's going to be on your resume. But getting certifications, amazing too. It's never too early to do that. And I think especially at your age, it's going to make you stand out. And there's a ton of free courses online. But anyway, moving forward, this is my college resume, if it'll load. And I was able to replicate it perfectly. So all of this is like very specific formatting. I didn't do like a template for it. And so you can see here with my experience, I was very selective too. I had more experience than this, but you do not want your resume to be over a page. Like some people, maybe a page and a half, but I'm telling you, make it a page, make it clean, make it concise, very important. And then with this bullet point format, I think it's quite good. Also, another thing that made me stand out, actually, let me see. I made actually a website, a personal website for myself. Let me see if I can pull that up. I know this is kind of off script, but I do actually, I completely forgot about this. There we are. I made a portfolio of myself that I think, and I also included it in my resume at the top, that I think made me stand out. Okay, I'm so sorry. I have a million tabs open right now. Hmm. Any questions while I'm pulling this up, by the way? And then Kelsey, how am I on time? I have like 3 minutes left.
Oh, you're good. We've got plenty of time. Date, please take your time. There's definitely no need to.
Perfect. Cool, cool. Appreciate it. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, if you guys could build a website, I really think that would be the extra mile kind of step. So I built this for my internships, and then also getting into VFA. And it really just, this is the portion where people are trying to convey with their interests at the bottom of the resume. But if you include like a little link, like this is my personal website, you could make this with Google, like for free. This is through Webflow, but like you could make things for free and it really makes you stand out. It shows your personality. And so, yeah, I basically just talked about myself and my experience. This is where you also can put the additional experience that doesn't fit on your resume on your website. So it's like a little, the resume, imagine, is like a preview about who you are. And then your actual website is the full picture. And so if they're interested, they can read more about you. And then it also shows that you're awesome, you know? And so I have like all these referrals. I tied in my LinkedIn basically. Build your LinkedIn, very important. It's never too early. This is also where I expanded on my personal traits. And so you can't fit all this stuff in a resume. And then I also visualized like all the things that I'm involved in. And then my journey, like like these different things. And I think it really makes you stand out. And so highly recommend you building a personal website and attaching it to your resume. And so I'll go tie back into my resume real quick.
Your website is so impressive. Oh
Oh,
my
thank you.
gosh. Wow.
Appreciate it. But yeah, no, you could like, guys, I'm telling you, go on Webflow. I bought like a $50 template. I mean, you can do it for free on Google, and then just customize it to how you want. And then it also, it ties into, I think I probably put it into my skills. Let's see, Webflow right there. I put it into my software skills. I mean, boom. And then it's also just showing a project, which is so important too. And you can put that on your website too, like various projects or portfolios. Let's say you're super interested in like creative work. Amazing idea to create a personal website for yourself. But then also just various things like if you speak any languages, or awards, just different things like that. And yeah, once again, the quantifiable metrics, very important. So just really dig deep and then make sure that whatever you put on your resume is telling a story and that it's concise and that every single bullet point, every single word has value, because this is some valuable space right here on your resume. You do not want to waste any of it. And then once again, really just making sure that there are no typos. And then also building up your LinkedIn, getting referrals, etc. But I know that was a lot. Is there any questions?
I'm interested to know why you put your education at the bottom as opposed to employment.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that was actually something that VFA recommended, of putting your experience like internships, like this one, first, because it's kind of similar to, I mean, you're not applying to a grad program. I'm assuming you're going to be applying to another internship or you're going to be applying to a job. And so you want to be able to show them, hey, I'm basically like, I already have all of these prerequisites. I'm basically like another candidate. I'm qualified for this job, and this is why. I have all these key metrics, like, and then they keep reading because these hiring managers or people running some of these internship programs, they have a lot of applicants, and they're running through them really quickly. And so you want to put your best foot forward, I think, with your experience, showing, first of all, like, this is why I belong here. This is why I deserve to be here. Because if you do education, you're not going to stand out. You're going to be basically like, oh, another kid, they have like straight A's too. Like, what's special about them? What's special about them is their experience. And that might sound harsh, but it just, people are so busy. And so I think that you would stand out a little bit more with experience first. But it's also a personal preference, I guess, too.
Yeah. I think as long as it's clearly labeled, you're
Yeah.
good. And kind of like Morgan was saying, it's just the stage of your career journey. So if you're applying to another internship or a job, you might want your experience at the top. Whereas if
Yeah.
you're applying for, say, a scholarship or something with your school, maybe education comes at the
Yeah.
beginning.
And
Take
that's a
it.
really good point because I mean, you're all in high school still, and so probably education um is more of your strong suit. You basically want to put your best like section first. And so if under education, if you're grouping your clubs and everything, I feel like that would probably be extracurricular involvement, right? And so your resume might look a little bit different. And so you'd maybe put extracurricular involvement first. Just really whatever you think makes you look the best. And there's nothing wrong with having education as first if it's your best foot forward. So I think it just depends on you as an individual.
Yeah, good advice. And I noticed that you don't have any pictures or graphics or
Yep.
anything on your
Yep.
resume.
That's another thing because originally I was being like super creative with my resume and this looks bland, right? But I'm telling you, it's very readable and recruiters like it. I don't know. But basically, the reason, at least that I've heard, that you don't want your picture on your resume is for any discriminatory reasons. And then also, I've heard that it looks unprofessional. But obviously, I have my LinkedIn or I have my webpage. So my picture's still linked. So but it's not the first thing that they see. You know, they're going to read about me and then they're interested. And so they can investigate further. Because I mean, it's basically like a web search. If they look you up, then they'll be able to find a picture of you inevitably through Instagram, or maybe not. I don't know how off the grid you all are.
Um,
I have a question.
Hmm?
I saw you separated your skills into like sections down there in additional information, like you separated into software languages and just basic skills. Why did
Yep.
you do that? And is it a
Yeah.
good thing to do?
Yeah. So this, I think it was the format that VFA gave me. But it's kind of different. So skills is more so like general, like, oh, I'm organized, I am skilled in social media and fundraising, etc. Whereas the software is more so like the nitty gritty of it. It's like, no, I know how to do Photoshop. I know WordPress, um, Slack, etc. Like whatever I was at that time. And so it's more so like a subcategory of that. And then it's basically just organizing everything in a nice little neat bow rather than everything combined that I think would be hard to read through, you know?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question too. On the bullet points for your experiences, how many bullet points should, I guess, an applicant should have on their resume, even if they have like they did a lot in that internship or that job?
That was my really okay. That was really tough for me. That's a fantastic question. I have heard basically like anywhere between 3 to 6. I would say an optimal is like a 4, maybe a 5. Um, and this does not paint all of the picture of what I did, trust me, right? And so these internships, your job experiences, you're going to be doing a lot of things, but it kind of ties back to what I was saying about where you're going to be applying to. And so what you can do is you can have a separate resume listing everything that you were able to do. It has all the quantified metrics. And then depending on the types of jobs or internships that you're applying for, you're going to be able to tailor and take them and drop it into your resume to be more specialized, more focused. And so, yeah, I think it just depends on where you're applying to.
Yeah, that was a really good question. And I like that idea of just kind of keeping everything in one, like your master resume, I guess, and put
Yeah.
all of your bullet points, and then you can kind of change things out based on the job posting. One thing that I've done with mine is for a more recent job that's maybe the most relevant to what I'm applying to, I may have, 6 to 10 bullet points, even like really focus on my most recent role, but then older jobs, I may just have 2 or 3 bullet points, right? So you're not as focused with jobs that were 5 years ago. That's something y'all might not need just yet, but kind of as you progress, just put more emphasis on the most recent or relevant position.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Any other questions before hand it off to you, Kelsey?
Yeah, I have one more. So when applying to like jobs, should you be able, I guess, to look at that job you're applying to and kind of take like keywords or I guess manipulate like I guess your
Mm-hmm.
words. Maybe you might not have done that at your internship or job, but it's more similar and you can kind of switch around.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I've heard that advice a ton. That is really great to do. And I'm glad that you brought that up. If there are specific things in the job posting or the program posting, like those keywords, you want to be able to put that into your resume and rework it, basically showing them, the recruiter, hey, I'm the perfect person for this position. It was made for me, actually. You know what I mean? And so it just goes back to really tailoring everything and making it like some people, when they apply to jobs or, internships, they'll just do a mass apply and it'll be a quantity over quality. And I can see the appeal to that. But at the same point, if you're just mass applying with a general resume, it's not going to be good. And I think that recruiters can tell that, and it's going to be like an automatic no. Whereas if you use these keywords and if you really tailor it to every single job and really put your time and energy into it, I think you're going to be able to get a better return from that.
Yeah. And that seems really time consuming. I
Mhm.
mean, if you're really trying to land that first job and you're just like applying, it can be kind of, I don't know, kind of exhausting to tailor your resume each time, but that will definitely get you a better result.
And yeah, no, and what you can do actually is if you wanted to get like super tech into it, you could start grouping all of the, like you could create a spreadsheet and then categorize everything of like, oh, this kind of job is under this, I don't know, field. Maybe you're interested in healthcare and you're also interested in, I don't know, another area, right? And so you can group all these job postings into there, and then you can make like general resumes for each area and then drill down further into the specific resume. And so you can go really like deep into it. And I think it'd be a good investment.
Those were all really good questions.
Mm-hmm.
Any more from Morgan?
Awesome.
All right. Well, then let's get back to our slideshow and actually talking about keywords. I think that's really pertinent to a discussion on applicant tracking systems. So has anybody here come across an applicant tracking system by chance? You guys probably haven't at this stage of the game, but essentially what it is, a lot of employers now are using software to help screen candidates, parse resumes. So they'll take your resume and essentially break it down to fill out certain fields. So that helps with the search process. And they're looking for, again, that keyword match, maybe a match with, I don't know, whatever they decide. So like internal culture fit, whatever that may look like for the given employer. In my previous position with NASA internships, we were receiving about 40,000 applications every year for intern positions. That's an awful lot of resumes. You can't review them all, unfortunately. It's just impossible to have a human reading every single one. So a lot of that was all based on keyword searches, and the students that were able to, communicate their skills, those keywords that fit with a given project description, and kind of really matching what we were filtering for. Those were the students most likely to get reviewed by an actual human, and then selected for a position. So it's important to kind of have an idea that these do exist. Now, small companies, QuantHub, for example, not really using that type of technology. We just don't get that same volume of applications for our openings. But if you guys want to go on to work for NASA, for Google, for Microsoft, whoever, they are 100% using applicant tracking systems. And now a lot of that has incorporated AI as well into the process. So it's good to be aware of kind of what's going on here. And when I'm talking about this, essentially, you'll see the job posting on a job site. There may be 10,000 people apply for that same position. And I both love and hate LinkedIn for that reason, because it will show you how many people have applied for a given job through LinkedIn. So you may see a job and you think, wow, this is perfect for me, but then it'll say 600 other people have already applied. Oh my goodness, that's a little bit stressful. What it's going to do when you apply, you submit your resume, it'll start to parse your resume. It'll break down some of those keywords into the system. And so before, you even have a human reviewing your application materials, you might have already been filtered out if you're not meeting some of these, again, hitting on those keywords. If your resume is improperly formatted, so like if you've used too many columns, if you used a complicated design, something that's maybe hard to read. I know we had several applicants for this program submitted their resume as an image, like an image file rather than a docx, a Word document. I can't read that. It's hard to work with that. And certainly any type of applicant tracking system is going to struggle to break that down and get the information out. So if you're just sending out a lot of resumes that aren't formatted correctly, that are not being picked up and read correctly by this type of software, you're just kind of spinning your wheels, right? You're wasting your time. So, and this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying parsing. Here you can see, here's maybe a candidate's resume that's been uploaded, a document file, and then the software is pulling out some of this information and filling in fields. So a company will keep a record of this and again, use it to maybe filter out candidates and narrow down their short list. So how do you work with that? Some things to keep in mind when you guys are designing your resume and moving forward with your job search. Keywords, once again, you want to pull words directly from the given job description. I would encourage you not to like overload your resume with just words pulled directly from that, because it's going to start to sound a little bit robotic. But if a job posting is for, I don't know, a data analyst, I would try and use those words, right? We want data. You want to say you've analyzed something. If there are some action words within the job description, like we want somebody who has, I don't know, managed a project or something, you would put project management, right? So pulling out those keywords and things that they're looking for. The format is really key. This one trips me up, and it's real easy to have maybe an unreadable format, especially if you're using templates that you found online that aren't ATS friendly, so applicant tracking system friendly. So again, that's using standard fonts, avoid graphics unless you're applying for a graphic design position or something like that. I would generally keep not just a picture of yourself, but also I've seen a lot of resumes where people will include like social media buttons and things like that within their resume. That stuff's not going to get picked up very easily through one of these types of systems. And then some of your subtitles and headings. So Morgan's resume was great. She had it broken down very clearly: work experience, skills, really clear and easy to read. Just be sure to include all that. Some of you guys submitted resumes that were great. You had so much good experience, but it was, I don't know, almost hard to quickly find the information on the page. It was just a lot of stuff on a page, but not necessarily as clearly labeled and organized. So again, that's the kind of thing that this type of software is picking up on. And even if it is just a human reviewer looking at your resume, if they can't quickly find, work experience, skills, education, just quickly glance at it. Honestly, it's very competitive out there. Your resume is probably just going to get tossed to the side and they'll move on to the next candidate. Columns, I kind of mentioned that can be tricky. A lot of people like to use like a right-hand column, left-hand column. Sometimes those are easy to read for this type of software, not necessarily all the time. So just be careful with your columns. And then if you're putting details in the header or footer, sometimes that does not get picked up either. So if you put like your name and contact information in the header of your Word doc, and then submit it to a, Google, it's very likely that it will not read that key information, so you'll just kind of get passed over that way too. I mentioned, of course, submitting your resume as a Word document. I always like to submit mine as a PDF because I'm so afraid things are going to get, jumbled around and not formatted correctly when I do submit it. But in a lot of cases, a Word doc is going to be easiest for any type of ATS software to parse and look through. And again, no image files. So some of you guys, nobody on this call, but some of y'all did apply to this program and had just like taken a picture almost of a resume, or you had, some of y'all had saved it as an image file. I also got a few that were saved as like, I don't know if they were Google Doc files or what, but I just couldn't open some of the resumes that were received for this internship. So Word doc, that's your best bet. You're always safe there. And then I would encourage you guys to just test your resume, run it through. There's a lot of free ATS checkers, and it can kind of give you an analysis of where your resume stands, maybe what a hiring manager, recruiter, whoever would see. So on the employer side of things, right, what they're seeing when you submit your resume. So just test it out. JobScan is a free resource. I used it a lot when I've applied for jobs in the past. It's just really handy and can give you tips on like, hey, this is too wordy, or maybe try some more targeted keywords. You can upload like a position description as well and kind of compare where your resume stands compared to the given job description. Pretty much talked about all this again, just some common pitfalls, things you might run into. Covered all that, so I'm going to skip ahead and talk a little bit about AI. So this is a relatively new, a new trend that we're seeing just in the past, really the past couple of years. AI has become just proliferant across the hiring process. So that's everything from the tools that job seekers like you guys might use when creating a resume, when searching for jobs. But it's also being used a lot by companies that are receiving huge volumes of resumes to help filter out candidates, or, filter down their eligible candidates that they want to move on to the next round of reviews. So thinking about AI, if you're trying to not just beat the ATS robots, but also beat the AI now that's being used for job searches, we've said this several times, but customize your resume for each application. So that's again focusing on keywords, but just focusing also on really the job fit. You want your resume to be in one page, the perfect candidate that they're looking for a given job. So you want to tailor everything within your resume for the job. That's important. You want to use industry specific terminology. So yesterday you guys learned about Power BI. I know that was just one quick class, but I would encourage you, if you want to go a little bit deeper there, to include Power BI, right? Created a data visualization in Power BI. That could be, you created your own data dashboard. Like that could be a really great project to highlight that is very industry specific. Same thing with SQL next week. Just anything that you guys are doing throughout your internship, use that correct terminology and align it with the job description. And then AI can also be helpful for you guys to just continuously improve on your resume. You want, if you need help, maybe writing really short bullet points that get right to the meat of what you're trying to say, that are really effective, that show impact, that use a lot of action words. I think everybody would much rather see that than just a lot of fluff and maybe long bullet points that don't really show any kind of oomph. You really want to, make those short, sweet, and get right to the point. So that is something that AI can absolutely help you with. And I've got a couple of resources for that here. So here are just a few that could be helpful for you guys. So when you're thinking about just building your resume, there are a cajillion different resume builders online. A lot of these will, I don't know, kind of give you a score on, you know, the action words that you're using, those keywords, the readability. They'll tell you really quick, and also give you some good templates to use that are also, you know, already set up to be easily readable by any type of application software. There are a number of testing tools for that applicant tracking software. Again, I mentioned JobScan. I have not used Resume Worded, but it looks really good. Both of those have free features, so you can test them out. I really liked JobScan, so I definitely recommend it. Job search platforms, of course, LinkedIn. That's my number one go-to. I love LinkedIn, but Indeed, Glassdoor, there are lots of places to find job postings, just kind of depending on what y'all are interested in. And a lot of those now are using AI to help maybe find jobs that are a good fit for you. They can recommend jobs. I know LinkedIn, you need a premium subscription to use a lot of their AI features, but there's a lot of job matching just built into that platform. And even like a chat bot that's part of the LinkedIn Premium subscription that'll kind of tell you where you stand with a given job application, maybe what could strengthen your application, what the likelihood is of you, you know, standing out to that type of, in that, for a given role. And then there's a lot of interview and presentation prep tools too. So ideally, you'll have a great, well-structured resume, well-formatted and laid out resume that'll get you into the hands of a human reviewer. At that point, it's really up to you to stand out through an interview. So there are actually quite a few really good, some AI, some just helpful tools. Even PowerPoint has a tool to help you with your presentation skills. So I think that's really cool. You can basically speak to PowerPoint or record you and then give you some feedback on how well you did with your presentation. So definitely check all these out, but honestly, there's like an endless supply of free tools out there to help you guys build a good resume. Grammarly is also really good if you're trying to not just check the grammar and the word usage in your resume or cover letter. It can also help you think up skills that you might want to add to your resume. So, you know, Morgan had a really good resume with her soft skills, I guess, or interpersonal skills. They're not really soft skills. They're kind of like key job functions, but things like project management, communication, whatever it may be, event planning, you know, whatever it is that y'all are good at. Grammarly has a good tool that can help you kind of think through some of those and what to add to. All I wanted to mention here on the AI-powered job platforms and just some of these tools is that everybody is using these tools. So definitely be careful. Don't rely solely on them to create a good resume and to get a job. I think it's important to have a balance of, you know, definitely leverage technology, use what's available to you, but of course the human touch is invaluable. So a nice balance of, you know, this optimized resume that's great. It's got all the keywords, but then also inject a little bit of your personality, your own voice into it. I saw on LinkedIn just a few days ago, a friend of mine who is a recruiter for a large company had posted, you know, I've looked at 100 cover letters in the past few days and they all are starting to sound the same. You know, everybody's using that same robotic tone, the same words, and it just sounds like ChatGPT wrote your cover letter, which, you know, I get it. If you're applying to 100 jobs, you need some help, but definitely inject a little bit of your own voice and don't become overly reliant, because that's going to just backfire on you guys and, I don't know, not really help you out like you want it to. So, you know, the human touch is key. And I did want to mention a couple of interesting things to think about. And this is maybe more so for someone on the hiring side, but it's good for you guys to be aware of that, you know, these conversations are happening. There are some ethical considerations, I think, that, you know, employers should definitely take into account, but these are things to think of as you are applying to jobs and just growing as professionals, that, you know, these tools are great, They can cut down hiring time. They can match candidates up with jobs where they're a really good fit. They can do a lot of great things. But there is, a lot of bias that could be built into an AI-powered job matching tool. There is, a lot of possibility for, whatever the system has been trained on, all this historical data, to kind of just perpetuate inequities, to perpetuate discrimination in the hiring process. If there's no one really monitoring the system all that closely, a lot of things can go wrong, and it can ultimately just perpetuate biases within the within the hiring process, or make hiring decisions or candidate screening decisions that are based on, candidate attributes that aren't necessarily required for the job. So, they might say, well, this person lacks charisma or whatever, like their resume indicates that, but that might not necessarily be, a key part of the job. So something to keep in mind. Not a whole lot we can do about it as job seekers, right? Or internship seekers. But as you guys do grow as professionals, just be wary of how this technology can, backfire and, I don't know, create problems within the hiring process. And also just keep in mind, I've seen a lot of fake job postings. I don't know, it's almost like bots are posting some of this stuff on job sites. I'm not totally sure how real the actual job is. That can kind of set you up for phishing and just spam. Your data, you're putting a lot of stuff out there when you submit a resume. So just be wary of, where you're posting, and then just oversharing information on your resume too. Some of you guys in your resumes, when you applied for this program, you all kind of put even some information about your family, or information about like your religious affiliation and that type of thing. I would encourage you just to be careful. Don't overshare. Sometimes simple is better. And then, of course, networking, attending job fairs, using your personal network and connections, relying on the people that you meet through this program, your mentor, that's never going anywhere. I really don't think it is. So, that's still going to be important, even as technology becomes more central to finding a job, and applying. Those personal connections will never go out of style. A few quick things I did want to say too, and we've kind of touched on this throughout the presentation, but just after reviewing y'all's resumes, we got 100-something resumes from students across Alabama who are all interested in this. I noticed a few things just some recurring issues that I would encourage you guys to maybe try and avoid. First off, a summary, some type of heading, a brief statement at the top of your resume, that can be really helpful. It can be like an instant attention grabbing statement, but it can also just be a distraction. It can be a waste of space. It can, I don't know, almost make you less attractive of a candidate, if your objective statement is not accurate to the point. If you've just posted like some rambling paragraph of stuff, that's not really going to appeal to a lot of employers. I don't care for the purposes of this program, but just encouraging you moving forward to really hone in. I think Morgan said, make everything count on your resume. It's valuable space. Make sure every word is thoughtful. Don't just fill it up with fluff. So, and that kind of goes along with, including qualitative, or that should be quantitative data, but using numbers, right? Measurable outcomes. You want to demonstrate impact, instead of just, I don't know, I worked on a project for the summer, right? Be real accurate about it and show that, I was able to achieve this in this amount of time. I helped this many people with, XYZ problem. Just be a little bit more specific and show those numbers and actions that you took, and then the outcomes that resulted from that. If you guys have been admitted to college, please include it. Even though you haven't started yet, put that on your resume. Quite a few of you are seniors, you just graduated, but your college plans were still not on your resume. Go ahead and list it. Likewise, I would say remove your high school activities after maybe your first semester or two of college. It's time to maybe start cutting back on some of your high school stuff and focusing more on what you're doing in college, moving toward more internships and work experience as opposed to all your high school extracurriculars. ACT, SAT score, and GPA, those are good for you guys right now. But that is something also to think about maybe cutting back on kind of as you move forward in your career. I don't think you really need any action there just yet, but I would consider maybe not including that information unless it is just truly really impressive, So if you scored a 36 ACT, sure, keep it on there for a little bit, but just something to consider maybe taking off as you move forward in your career. A lot of you guys had resumes where you didn't spell out acronyms, or you did not include like the full name of your high school or a given club that you're in. It was almost like you were kind of making the assumption that whoever got your resume already knew what the whatever club was at your school. I'm very familiar with a lot of high schools in Alabama, so that's no problem, but some of y'all maybe didn't put the correct name of your school even. So just be sure to spell it out, exactly as it is, right? Spell it out, spell out any acronyms as needed. Also be careful, some of y'all had extra pages that were just blank. So you would submit your resume and it shows up as a 1-page resume, but there's still a second page and it's just totally blank. That's just formatting. Just be sure that that's not included. And likewise, there were a lot of large blank spaces. Like some of the resumes I received, you guys had a lot of your information right at the top of the page. So it's like the first third of the page had a lot of information and then the rest of the page was blank. Just kind of consider spreading things out and trying to fill up your page. Don't lie or stretch the truth, it just be honest about your skills. I mean, obviously you're trying to kind of sell yourself and your abilities in a resume, but don't lie. It will be discovered. You definitely don't want to say that you're an expert in a certain type of software and then get hired into a position and you actually have no idea, or, you worked with it one time. So don't lie. And then again, just kind of be careful with the way that you've talked about, anything that could be identifying of your gender, your race, religion, politics, maybe family relationships. That's not so important for you guys right now. And just some highly personal stuff, unless it's relevant. Obviously, if you're applying for a job at a church, you would want to list a lot of your church activities. If you're applying for a job in politics, you want to be an intern with the state legislature, obviously you would want to include maybe some more political activities. But just applying for your typical, data science job, maybe leave some of that stuff off. I'll say an example from my own example. So I'm a mom and I recently, before I started at Quant Hub, took a few months off just to be a full-time parent. Well, that's kind of a tricky thing. Like, how do you explain that in a resume? Because a lot of companies will just dismiss you, right? They say, well, mom with a little kid, that's immediately kind of revealing that I have other responsibilities that maybe, I will prioritize over my work. So that's kind of something there to think about. It's like, well, how will this be interpreted by the employer? Obviously, it's central to my life and important, but how do you communicate that in a resume? So just some stuff to think about. And y'all, if y'all would like for Morgan to review your resume at any point this summer, we'd be happy to maybe check it out, give you some tips. And then, just check out some of these tools provided. And I think Morgan said she was going to share the resume guide that she got from Venture for America too. So that'll be a helpful starting point for y'all. Okay. Y'all, I know y'all are going to get tired of hearing from me this summer. But are there any questions about any of that information?
Would you just like leave out if you're a parent or something, or
Well, you can, but so that was my dilemma, was that it was a 6-month break from work. So how do I explain a gap, right, in my resume without indicating that. And yeah, typically you would leave that off, but I think my case was explaining a career break, right? So like, how do you communicate that without revealing that, you know, you have a family situation? Not applicable to you guys right now necessarily, but just something to think about. And I saw, you know, some of you guys, I don't know, like in your objective statements, you kind of just went on like a tangent talking about activities you do with your family, which just had nothing to do with the internship necessarily. So I would just cut that stuff out.
So every work experience you want to put, like, don't like if it's irrelevant to the job, you would still put it if it's work.
If it's irrelevant to the job,
Yeah, like you were saying, like a break in career. So are you saying that we should put like every like job that we had in the past?
no, 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 no. I wouldn't do that. So I probably shouldn't have even brought up my situation, but no, so I was trying to come back to work after a 6-month break. So there was kind of a question, and that's something you can expand on in a cover letter, you know, if you do maybe have a break. I think for you guys, maybe the past, I mean, I can't imagine y'all will have more than a couple of years of work experience at this point. So I think for a college student, the past 5 years of experience, but kind of start moving away from high school activities. That's the general advice. But no, I don't have my whole work history. And that's where something like LinkedIn or, you know, a website like what Morgan shared, that could be really beneficial because then you can show every activity you've ever done. But then for, you know, once you're at work and you've started working, you'll really want to hone in on what's relevant to this job that you're applying for. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I have a question. Okay, so this was mainly talking about like job application resumes, but how could we turn this into like formatting a resume for college instead of a job?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the same rules would apply. I think with a so if you're applying for like a scholarship, you might want to be a little more specific on how you meet the given scholarship criteria. Like if there's a scholarship that, you know, wants a student who has been real involved in their community, that type of thing, you might want to really emphasize that. And that might be, you know, something you put toward the top, right? So that most relevant information. For just a general resume, I, I mean, I don't think you would change it all that much. I think for a job, you really want to emphasize skills. You want to emphasize experience in the workplace, any type of training, internships, that type of thing. That's what you want to emphasize. For school, it would be, you know, focusing more on your education, maybe community involvement. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know without a more specific example, but I think that might just be a case of like rearranging some of the sections of your resume.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. Do colleges
I had a
make
question.
you? Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I wanted to ask if like I see like a lot of students, especially college students or high schoolers, have LinkedIn
Mhm.
like profiles. Is that something that should be focused, I guess, early on in high school, or did you already have created that like I guess midway into college or having more experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all kind of a personal preference. I did not have a LinkedIn until after I had graduated college, but it wasn't as big of a deal, you know, 10 years ago. Now it has really become like the place to go for future jobs and internships. I think it's not a bad idea to just set up just a real basic profile. You may not feel comfortable putting a lot of information on there just yet, or if you do, go for it. But that could be a good place to start searching for internships and jobs. I love just following companies and stuff that I'm interested in that are kind of relevant to what I'm working on and seeing all their updates, kind of getting the feed of information from different companies. So, you know, I think it's a good idea to just go ahead and get on there. You can post, or you can kind of update your LinkedIn profile with some of your volunteer experience. It's also a good place to start thinking about how to talk about your skills. So I don't know, that to me is hard because I'm not as in such a technical role. So I'm not necessarily like developing software and coding all day. So when I think skills, it's like, well, I don't know. But LinkedIn is actually really helpful for helping you kind of pick out what your key skills are relevant to your past jobs and things like that. So I like it for that reason. And then just networking, it doesn't hurt. I think probably everybody y'all will hear from this summer. A lot of the people at your companies that you're working with, they're all on LinkedIn for the most part. Colleges are on LinkedIn. So it's a good place to just start getting information and building a network. So, yeah. Any other questions? And I realize y'all, you're not quite at this stage where you're applying for full-time roles, but again, it's good to just start talking about this stuff now. And like Morgan said, y'all are definitely going to be ahead of the game just because you're getting this information now. I know a lot of the software, like the applicant tracking software, that totally caught me off guard after graduation. I didn't really know that was a thing, but it absolutely is if y'all are applying anywhere with more than, I don't know, 500 employees. It's most companies are using software like this that's pulling out those keywords from your resume. And even just working with NASA's intern program, like I said, all of it's keywords. It's all about your keywords and having a clear and concise and easy to digest resume. So, yeah, and I hope that y'all will, use this experience this summer to start adding some more things to your resume and honing in on kind of where you want to go in the next step. All the stuff we're talking about, all the stuff y'all are working on, that's all great resume fodder. So, use it, leverage it, let this experience help, catapult you to the next one. All right, y'all. Any more questions from you guys? Okay, well, I really appreciate y'all being here. Thanks to everybody who attended yesterday's Tuesday talk as well. It's good to just be present for our guest speakers. So we have another great one next week and a good workshop as well. Y'all please let me know if you have any questions about any of this stuff, and I will share these slides in Slack as well. So, all right, I'll see y'all. And I've got
Bye.
office hours after this too. So if y'all need
Me
anything,
too.
let me know. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.